What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwi coach, and give me 6 months of your time, I'll give you the best golf swing of your life. So welcome back to the channel. In this particular video, we're going to be reacting to another athletic motion golf. Again, these people are most notably known in America for doing pro versus am with Gears breakdowns. This particular video, they're talking about how to increase your club head speed. So if you're interested in getting a lot more speed and you want to actually have the real breakdown of exactly what you need to do that, this is the perfect video for you, and let's go ahead and jump in. But before we get into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Kiwi Golf Japan. If you did not know, YouTube does not pay the bills. So if you want to help support this YouTube channel and allow us to continue to make videos for you, after the video is over, check out the link down below to our Kiwi Platinum membership site. It really helps support this channel. And now let's go take a look at club head speed.
Sean, we did a video a little while ago, our pros versus ams video, about moving the hands faster to start the downswing, getting more lag as that happens. A lot of comments, a lot of questions on how to do that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be difficult once you see how to do it, but there's a fear with a lot of golfers out there that if you do X, it's going to cause you to steepen the club. If you pull the hands down, that's going to cause you to steepen the club.
All right, so let's stop it here and start to get into the main points of what they're trying to be discussing in this particular video. So they did a recent video on their YouTube channel talking about how to create more club head speed by pulling the hands down. Now, a lot of their subscribers who probably watch George Gankis, and the reason why I say George Gankis is because what they are talking about a little bit later in this video, the only golf instructor at this time who was talking about that was George, so it had to be George Gankis. I'm assuming the subscribers also watch George, and then George talks about this concept of if you pull down the hands, you will always steepen the club shaft. And this is something that athletic motion golf does not necessarily believe in, and this is going to be one of the major points in this particular video. So for George's theory, let me break that down again one more time. He wants you to get up to the top, leave the hands up is what he talks about. So don't try to move the hands down. Don't physically try to do that. Just try to rotate and then add on side bend. And if you can do that, that's going to allow you to get the club head speed to shallow the club shaft. Again, that is George's theory. These people don't necessarily agree with that, and they think that you can actually pull down the hands and not steepen the club shaft, which they're going to break down some points here in a little bit, but that's really kind of the main point behind this video. It came from a subscriber's question. Let's go ahead and jump ahead to when they start to talk about kind of pulling down and how you don't have to necessarily steepen the club shaft if you pull down the club shaft.
We're going to show with that. We'll call it damaging idea that's going around out there in the golf instruction, that if the hands work down at all, that's going to cause the club to steepen.
Yeah.
And we see this demonstrated a lot. We see, okay, to shallow the club, you need to go this way. To steepen the club, if you go down, you're going to steepen the club.
Yeah.
And
it looks good on paper, but it doesn't really work like that.
I'm doing that by the torque I'm putting on the club, right?
Exactly.
We as golfers have...
So this is a great point that they bring up, and let me further explain what they're trying to talk about here. So if I swing up to the top, and let's say my grip in kind of moves behind me, and then from here, actually I have an arcing motion like that. So it moves behind me, and then I arc it. That would actually steepen the club shaft. So in that sense, moving the hands behind you steepen the club shaft. But it wasn't really the act of moving the club shaft behind you. It was the act of that arcing motion or that torque that you applied. That was actually what caused the club shaft to steepen. You can do the same motion by moving the grip in out and then having it arc as well, and that would also steepen the club shaft. So then in turn, the motion of the hand path by itself, that force, doesn't necessarily cause the club shaft to steepen. It's more so what torque you apply or the direction that you move the force in, which is going to cause the club shaft to steepen or to not to steepen. So that's the main point they're trying to talk about. It's not about the direction the hands move in terms of just vertical or out. It's more so the overall direction. So if you have that little arcing motion this way, that'll steepen the club shaft. If you have an arcing motion the opposite way, that would actually flatten the club shaft. And that pretty much sums up the next 5 minutes that they're talking about in this particular video. They're trying to explain to you that it's really the torque that you apply that is going to cause the club shaft to steepen or not. So you can do that again with the hands moving behind you or with the hands moving out. And most amateur golfers actually typically steepen the club shaft with the hands moving out towards the golf ball. Now that we got that point out of the way, let's start skipping ahead to the major points of the video after this, which talks about you need to maintain some width while you try to pull the hands down to create club speed. Let's jump ahead to that.
You could steepen it then, but if you're in a good spot, right here, if I want to get some speed in the arms without steepening, I have to maintain some width in this right arm, right?
By that, you mean this angle is 90 degrees.
Yeah.
You're widening this angle on the downswing.
Yeah.
You see this from Rory, you see this from the
So this is starting to get into the first major point of how to create club speed in transition, and that's going to be getting into the trail elbow, which in this case for a right-handed golfer is the right elbow. We need to go from a certain position at the top and actually start to gradually add width to the elbow all the way throughout the downswing, which is really contrary to what a lot of amateur golfers do when they actually start from a pretty bent position already and then actually increase that angle as they start down, which gets them narrow, which ultimately makes them lose a ton of club head speed. So this is going to be the main point they're going to be talking about for the rest of the video. Let's go jump ahead to when they get into Gears, take a look at 3 of the best PGA Tour players at that time of the video, and take a look at their elbow movements in the downswing.
Pros from our Pros versus AMs video on creating more hand speed and doing that earlier. Just for reference, these guys are among the best when it comes to swinging.
So let's go ahead and stop it there. So as you can see, they're really just looking at one data point, one motion, and it's going to be the trail elbow extension motion from the top of the swing all the way down into the downswing. And as you see these swings play through, all of them are gradually extending their elbow from the top of swing all the way down into impact, which is something that I think a lot of amateur golfers first off don't do. And then also they think that that's not what you should be doing, right? Because they're thinking about, hey, I watched this YouTube video, I need to get lag, I need to get narrow in transition so I can have more club head speed. And when it comes to the elbow motion, that's not the case. The elbow actually extends, and you can see all the best players in the world doing that. Now, when they talk about the club shaft angle or the radial deviation amount, the cocking amount, that will definitely narrow for sure. But when it comes to the elbow, which a lot of you guys don't really understand, that is not narrowing. So let's go jump ahead and start breaking down the elbow motion.
Combined, they've won 6 majors, 37 wins out on tour, and have won over $100 million. So what you're seeing is them from the top of their swings down into impact. And the number you're seeing under each player is their right arm bend in real time as they're moving throughout the downswing. Notice how at the top, they all have a right arm bend of less than 90 degrees. That's their trail arm bent less than 90 degrees. Now that's something that we typically don't see from amateur golfers. They typically have much more right arm bend. We've seen as much as 130 degrees.
So let's stop it there and discuss a little bit of how Gears measures elbow bend, because a lot of you guys might have been confused there, where you heard him say pro golfers have like maybe 70 to 80 degrees of elbow bend, but then amateur golfers have more bend, but their angle is right around 120 degrees. How does that make sense, right? You probably imagine 120 degrees being more this way, and then 70 degrees being a little bit more this way. How can it that the pro golfer has a more extended elbow when they have a smaller angle? And this goes into how Gears measures elbow bend. So basically, if your elbow is all the way this way, Gears is actually measuring that more closer to 180, where this one over here is moving more towards the extended position. So it's a little bit different than how I personally logically would think about it as well. But I know there's going to be some of you guys out there that are confused when you do hear that. So I wanted to bring that up to clear that up. When they say they're right around 80 degrees, let's say, that means they're actually, if you look at it more this way, where let's say this is 180 degrees and not this, if this was 180 degrees, these players are closer to 120 degrees. But with Gears, again, they measure it differently. Now that we got that out of the way, let's continue.
Swing. So step 1 in creating width, which is necessary to create speed, is to have 90 degrees or less from your right arm, from your trail arm at the top of the swing. As we start these guys down, you're going to see how quickly they begin to straighten their trail arms. The first 2 guys do it immediately out of the top, and the third does it very soon out of the top. He adds about 3 to 4 degrees of bend, then starts to straighten, and all of them are straightening.
All right, so right around here is close to left arm parallel. I think it's a little bit past it potentially, but as you can see, the angle numbers here, they're moving closer to that 0 degrees, which remember, 0 degrees would be this for Gears. This is going to be the 180, just to reconfirm that. So yes, as you can see with Gears, which is measuring that elbow rotation, or sorry, not rotation, width, they are definitely extending it. So now, what does that do in terms of the grip movement? Well, in terms of the grip movement, that actually moves the grip in away from the body initially, which I think is such a crucial move to generate speed, because All right, that's it for you guys on YouTube, but before you guys click off, let me give you some quick wrap-up points. So when it comes to the major speed killers, let's go over those first. We're really looking at the trail elbow getting narrower in transition. We're probably gonna see in turn of that, the grip in going more vertically down after P5 as opposed to having that arcing motion that I was talking about. Also, what you're probably seeing as well, maybe the pelvis is shifting towards the target side, but the sternum is shifting away. As the elbows may be getting wider or narrower, those two motions would definitely be a major speed killer. And those are kind of some of the major points in this particular video. So if you guys are struggling to do this with your own golf swing, well, that's why I want you guys to check out the Kiwi Coach 6-month program. There'll be a link for that down below. Go ahead and check that out. If you want to watch the whole video of this, make sure to check out the Kiwi Platinum membership site. You can actually sign up, get access to this video, as well as a lot of other videos that are on that site. And it really does support this YouTube channel. So make sure, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video.